In a kingdom surrounded by towering mountains and lush forests, there lived a young prince named Alaric. Alaric was handsome, intelligent, and destined to inherit the throne from his aging father, King Roland. However, despite his many gifts, the prince harbored a flaw that overshadowed his virtues. He was selfish. The centerpiece of Prince Alaric's kingdom was a magnificent garden, hidden away behind the palace walls. This was no ordinary garden. Each flower in this garden represented a wish that the prince had made. The flowers bloomed in a dazzling array of colors: roses of deep crimson, lilies as white as snow, and violets that shimmered in the moonlight. The garden was a place of wonder, beauty, and magic, and it was known throughout the land as the Garden of Wishes. As a child, Alaric's wishes were pure and innocent. He wished for sunshine on rainy days, for a friend to play with, and for his father's good health. Each time he made a wish, a new flower would bloom in the garden, filling the air with a sweet fragrance that brought joy to all who visited. The garden thrived, bursting with life and color, a reflection of the prince's untainted heart. But as Alaric grew older, his wishes began to change. No longer content with simple pleasures, he wished for power, wealth, and glory. He wished to be admired by all, to have the finest clothes, and to possess treasures from distant lands. These selfish desires took root in the garden, and slowly the vibrant flowers began to wither. One by one, the blossoms faded. The roses lost their petals, the lilies turned brown, and the violets drooped, their color draining away. Soon, the once glorious garden became a desolate wasteland, filled with thorny brambles and wilted stems. The people of the kingdom noticed the change, whispering among themselves about the prince's greed and the dying garden. Despite the garden's decay, Prince Alaric was oblivious. He continued to make selfish wishes, unaware that each one drained the life from the garden. But one day, as he strolled through the barren land that was once his pride and joy, something caught his eye. In the center of the garden stood a single flower, a rose of purest white, untouched by the blight that had spread around it. Beneath the rose lay a small plaque, etched with the words, "The heart of the garden reflects the heart of the prince." Confused and troubled, Alaric sought out the kingdom's oldest advisor, a wise woman named Isolde. She had served the royal family for generations and knew more about the garden's magic than anyone else. "Isolde," Alaric asked, "why has my garden withered? Why do the flowers no longer bloom as they once did?" Isolde studied the prince with kind but sorrowful eyes. "The garden's magic is tied to your wishes, Your Highness. When your wishes were selfless and pure, the garden flourished. But as your heart grew selfish, the garden withered." Alaric's face fell. "What can I do to restore it?" "There is only one way," Isolde replied. "You must undo your selfish wishes by granting the heartfelt wishes of others. Only then will the garden bloom again." Determined to save his beloved garden, Alaric set out on a journey through his kingdom. He visited the villages, the farms, and the marketplaces, speaking to his people and asking them about their wishes. For the first time in his life, Alaric truly listened. He heard the struggles of a farmer who wished for rain to save his crops, the longing of a mother who wished for her son's safe return from war, and the hope of a young girl who wished for a cure for her ailing father. Moved by their stories, Alaric began to grant their wishes. He ordered the building of irrigation systems to help the farmers, arranged for healers to visit the sick, and sent messengers to bring back lost loved ones. Each time he granted a wish, he felt a warmth in his chest, a small flicker of joy that he had never felt before. And with each wish granted, the garden began to change. The thorny brambles receded, and new shoots of green sprouted from the earth. The wilted stems straightened, and buds began to form on the once barren branches. Slowly but surely, the garden began to come back to life. As weeks turned into months, Alaric continued his work, dedicating himself to the well-being of his people. He no longer wished for power or wealth, but for the happiness and prosperity of those around him. The more he gave, the more the garden flourished. By the time the first snowflakes of winter fell, the garden was alive once more beautiful than it had ever been. In the center of the garden, where the white rose had stood, a new flower bloomed. It was a radiant golden rose, shining with a light that warmed the coldest night. Alaric knelt before it, tears in his eyes, understanding at last the true meaning of the garden. The heart of the garden had always reflected the heart of the prince. By shedding his selfishness and embracing selflessness, Alaric had restored not only the garden, but also his kingdom and himself. From that day on, Prince Alaric ruled with kindness and wisdom, never forgetting the lesson of the Garden of Wishes. And as long as he ruled with a generous heart, the garden continued to bloom, a testament to the power of selfless love.